When a government puts out its national budget, it's never just a dry document full of numbers. It's a roadmap. It's a statement about the future. And for India's 2026-27 union budget, that statement is loud and clear. It's making a huge bet on growth. Okay, let's get into it.
This one sentence right here, it pretty much nails the entire story we're about to unpack. It flags the central tension of the whole budget, this massive spending push to fuel growth, while at the same time trying to be careful with the nation's finances. It's a real high-wire act, and we're going to break down exactly what that means.
So let's start with that big bet itself. Really, it all boils down to a fundamental choice every government has to make. How much do you spend right now to build for the future versus how much do you save to keep the books in order today?
The easiest way to think about this is to imagine your own household budget. On one side, you've got your revenue expenditure. Think of these as your everyday bills. For the government, that's things like salaries, subsidies, just the daily costs of keeping the country running. But on the other side, you have capex, or capital expenditure. This is the exciting stuff. This is like deciding to build a big extension on your house. It's a huge upfront investment, for sure, but it's an asset that's going to create value for years and years. And this budget, it is all about building that extension.
Okay, so let's zoom in on that building plan. This next part is all about the capex push. We're going to look at exactly how India is pouring the concrete and laying the tracks to invest in its own future.
Just so we're all on the same page, capital expenditure, or capex, is money spent on creating or upgrading real physical stuff. We're talking about the absolute building blocks of a modern economy: brand new highways, state-of-the-art railways, and the latest defense equipment. And the scale of this investment? Well, it's just immense. The total capex budget is a staggering 12.2 lakh crore rupees. That's an 11.5% jump from the year before. This isn't just talk. This is the government putting some serious money where its mouth is.
Now, where is all this money actually going? Well, this chart tells a pretty clear story. Defense is getting the biggest year-over-year boost, a massive 17.6% increase. Right behind that, you've got huge investments in railways, up over 10%, and roads, up more than 8%. The message here couldn't be clearer. The big priorities are national security and national connectivity.
And remember, this isn't just about numbers on a spreadsheet. This spending translates into real, tangible projects that people will actually see and use every day. We're talking about new high-speed rail lines, modern highways crisscrossing the country, and a serious upgrade to the nation's defense capabilities.
Okay, a 12.2 lakh crore spending plan is incredibly ambitious, but it immediately brings up a pretty big question, right? How are they going to pay for all this? That's the other half of this story. It's all about balancing the books.
The government's tax strategy here is actually fascinating. It's taking what you might call a divergent path. On one hand, direct taxes are expected to do the heavy lifting, with collections projected to grow by over 11%. But on the other hand, indirect taxes, like GST, are actually forecast to go down a bit. This is a deliberate move to try and ease the pressure on consumption and hopefully spark more economic activity from the ground up.
And the whole point here, the big goal, is that even with all this massive spending, they want to slowly but surely shrink the fiscal deficit. That's simply the gap between what the government spends and what it earns. And there's a very clear plan to bring that number down.
And this slide right here shows you that plan in action. It's what they call the fiscal glide path. You can see a really clear, steady, year-by-year reduction of the deficit as a percentage of the economy from 5.6% down to a target of 4.3%. It shows a real commitment to being careful with the finances in the long run.
Now, taxes aren't the only tool in the toolbox. The government is also counting on other key income streams. Dividends from the Reserve Bank and other public institutions are still a huge contributor. There's also a pretty ambitious target to raise 80,000 crore rupees through disinvestment. All of this feeds into that one big goal: get the total debt to GDP ratio down to a healthier 55.6% by FY27.
All right, so we've looked at the big picture, the massive spending, and the careful plan to pay for it. Now let's zoom in a bit and put a spotlight on some of the key, future-focused areas where all this investment is supposed to make a real direct impact.
First up, healthcare is getting a serious booster shot. There's a new 10,000 crore rupee scheme called Biopharma Shakti, which is all about building up the country's ability to produce advanced medicines right at home. And at the same time, there's a big push for medical tourism with plans for 5 new regional medical hubs designed to attract patients from all over the world.
The mission for a digital India is getting supercharged, too. The government is offering a huge tax holiday. We're talking all the way until 2047 for foreign cloud companies that come and build their data centers here in India. The goal is simple and ambitious: pull in massive foreign investment and turn India into a global hub for the world's data.
And when it comes to electric vehicles, the government is really stepping on the accelerator. They're looking at getting rid of import duties on the heavy equipment needed to make lithium-ion battery cells locally. That's a potential game changer. Plus, they're pumping more money into incentive schemes to encourage car makers to build more EVs.
Okay, we've covered the spending, the saving, and the key sectors getting a boost. So in our final section, let's just pull it all together and ask the big question. What is the bottom line? What does all of this really mean for India's future? If you take away just 3 things from our deep dive today, let it be these. First, the entire growth strategy rests on a big bet on infrastructure, powered by record-breaking capex. Second, this isn't just reckless spending. It's a careful balancing act, with a very clear, methodical plan to bring down the fiscal deficit. And third, these investments are laser-focused on the industries of tomorrow: biopharma, digital, and electric vehicles. So at the end of the day, the government is pushing all its chips in, betting big on building for the future. And the one question this budget leaves us with is this: will this massive investment successfully create that next wave of growth while also keeping the economy stable? That right there is the multi-trillion rupee question we'll all be watching to see answered.